Good day. It's wonderful to be here with you. I want to thank the organizers from myself and on behalf of my co-presenter, Abdus for the invitation to present this keynote at the 14th Lumen International Scientific Conference. And we're going to be talking today about visioning inclusion in an academic medical center. And since the theme of the conference is core values and social action, I thought it would be best to start off with our core value, which is to increase knowledge, understanding, presence, and celebration of diversity at all levels of the School of Medicine. And this is the core value that we're going to be focusing on in our talk today. Now, even though that this is our core value, and it's really a core value within medicine generally, there's significant evidence of underrepresentation of both women and individuals who self-identify as minorities in the medical field today. In addition, microaggressions are commonplace. So microaggressions have been defined as snubs, slights, and insults directed towards minorities, as well as to women and other historically stigmatized groups that implicitly communicate or at least engender hostility. Microaggressions can take a number of different forms. They can be microassaults, which include name-calling and blatant refusals to work with someone who's perceived as different. They include micro-insults, which are rude, demeaning, and/or insensitive communications that are focused on an individual's identity. And they can include micro-invalidations, which are communications that negate, invalidate, or dismiss an individual's thoughts, feelings, experiences, or concerns. So for instance, someone might be expressing how they feel, and the response that they get is, oh, you don't really feel that way, or gee, it's ridiculous that you feel that way. Now, microaggressions occur environmentally when micro-assaults, micro-insults, and micro-invalidations become part of the culture, policies, procedures, and climate of a workplace. What's important to remember is that the communicators of these microaggressions may have no understanding or awareness of their negative impact or even of their own underlying bias. It's also important to recognize that microaggressions are not about having hurt feelings, but rather it's the negative effect that comes from being repeatedly insulted, invalidated, alienated, or dismissed. And these effects are visible at both the micro and the macro level. So for instance, student learning may be decreased, students may feel devalued, and an environment that is microaggressive may be unable to recruit or retain women and underrepresented minorities. And it will also limit not just the ability of the individuals to advance or remain in their career, but it may ultimately hinder the ability of the institution to move forward because it's continually having to replace people. It's also important to recognize that even though microaggressions have been found to be commonplace, they are preventable. But in order to prevent them, one has to know what is actually happening and the prevalence of those microaggressions. So in order to determine this, we developed a diversity needs assessment survey in 2017. This was done with a committee composed of administrators, faculty, and medical and graduate school students. The members of the committee reviewed existing instruments that had been published that focused on diversity needs related issues. And then using this as a foundation, the committee drafted a questionnaire, pre-tested it in focus groups, revised it, and then pre-tested it with a select group of individuals. Ultimately, the committee developed a 42-item survey, and it was rolled out to 5,918 persons throughout the academic medical center, which included faculty, staff, and students. The questionnaire focused on their experiences of verbal, electronic, and physical harassment during the 2 years that immediately preceded the survey, and specifically occurrences that happened at the academic medical center. So we didn't want to know, for instance, about their experiences in the community, and we wanted these experiences to be relatively recent, because if they were too far in the past, it would not advise us as to the current incidence and prevalence, and it wouldn't give us a clue as to how we might intervene. There was a 13.1% response rate. A total of 774 individuals actually responded to the questionnaire. What we found from this needs assessment was that more than 92% of the respondents believed that everyone was treated with respect at the academic medical center, and that they believed that the medical center created a climate of respect. However, 201 individuals, or 26% of those who responded, reported having experienced verbal, electronic, or physical harassment during the preceding 2 years. What we found was that students, females, and self-identification as a minority were statistically associated with having experienced verbal harassment. And being female was also associated with having experienced physical harassment. Our qualitative data indicated 5 different themes. The first, and importantly, was that microaggressions are committed at all levels. So faculty, staff, and students were individuals within those groups were responsible for having committed microaggressions. But it was also important to note that individuals at all levels were targets of these microaggressions. The second theme that emerged from the qualitative responses was that additional and more nuanced programming was needed across all levels of the academic medical center in order to reduce bias. The third theme was that there exists systemic bias in favor of white men with respect to the recruitment of faculty, salary, and receipt of awards. Fourth, that mainstream people, and this was a direct quote, are often made to feel as though they've done something wrong, or they feel that they have been falsely accused of discrimination. And finally, some individuals indicated that they believed that there was too much emphasis on diversity. To give you examples of some of these, one individual said, "My experience is to walk down the hall and say good morning and get looked at like you're the plague." Someone else commented, "My office may need diversity training, sensitivity classes, and faculty staff have to come in with an open mind for these classes and not take offense to everything. It is very frustrating that my voice seems to be heard." Yet another person said, speaking about systemic bias, "How come only one basic science chair is female? Underrepresented minority chairs. Seems the same few white, straight men in leadership positions make all of the decisions for the academic medical center. I do not observe this at all outside." A very different culture. And finally, one person indicated, "To clarify on the question about harassment while at the academic medical center, the one time I have felt over harassment on the basis of gender was when I, as a white male, was falsely verbally accused of gender discrimination for an action that actually I had not even instigated, but was nonetheless blamed for, and in the course of that was accused of gender discrimination." One individual who believed that there was too much emphasis on diversity commented, "I will respect everyone that walks through my door and treat them with kindness, but being forced to accept and be trained in something that goes against my beliefs to me is discrimination in itself, even though I am considered a majority." In order to further our core value and address the issues that arose from the Diversity Needs Assessment Survey, we moved forward on 4 different initiatives. The first was to revise our search procedures for senior administrative positions and many faculty positions. In order to do this, we required that all search committees include at least 1 female and 1 individual who self-identified as an underrepresented minority in medicine, that the venues for recruitment be expanded to better target sites that would be of interest to qualified female and minority candidates, that every phase of the search must include at least 1 qualified female or underrepresented candidate, and additionally that approval was required at each phase of the search process. We developed and disseminated a holiday calendar that included not only national holidays, but also religious and many secular holidays. We initiated an annual award to 1 staff member and 1 faculty member each year in recognition of their diversity and inclusion efforts throughout the academic medical center. And these awards came with a cash award as well. And we initiated and conducted a diversity strategic action plan that would be effective from January 2020 through December 2024. In conducting that plan and working at all levels throughout the School of Medicine, the plan ultimately enumerated 4 specific objectives: to enhance the overall climate to reflect, promote, and welcome diversity, to enhance the curriculum and training opportunities to increase inclusiveness and decrease adverse experiences, to improve and expand the content and format of diversity training for faculty, staff, and students in the context of professionalism, and to enhance the diversity of the academic medical center and diversity-related functions through the development of adequate financial resources. So what we can say is that the changes that we instituted exemplify microaffirmations. And microaffirmations are actions that recognize, validate, and reward positive behaviors consistent with our expressed values. We also provide evidence of possible positive institutional steps to further the core values. So very often people may throw up their hands and say, well, this is a problem at an individual level, but indeed it exists at an institutional level as well. There are some limitations to our findings in that the people who responded to the Diversity Needs Assessment Survey are more likely to have been individuals who either had an adverse experience of a microaggression or harassment, or individuals who were particularly interested in diversity-related issues. Our findings also, however, suggest that there is a need for broad-based support. We had that across faculty, staff, and students, which is what helped to make this work, and that it's also important to have leadership modeling, that individuals at higher levels model the behavior that we are seeking to reward and incentivize and imbue our integrate into the environment. So I'm happy to take any questions. If you think of questions afterwards, you can reach me at my email at sana.loue@case.edu. And we thank you for this opportunity to present with you.